This is Courage Rises with Susan Jeffries, episode 13. Do you ever wish you had more courage to affect change in your life? Or wish you could harness the courage you have to move forward faster towards your goals? I believe that exhibiting courage or even being told you are courageous can be transformational. Courage is not a trait that everyone is born with, but can most certainly be learned through practice and shifting your mindset. My hope with these interviews is that you'll recognize yourself in some of these stories of everyday courage, tell yourself you are also courageous, and begin to move the needle on your own courage continuum. Let's get started. Hey everybody, it's Susan Jeffries with Courage Rises. Welcome to our next episode of interviews about courage. My guest today is my friend Lauren Archibeque. She is a very dynamic and interesting woman, and I know you're going to love hearing from her. So Lauren, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, just who you are, what you do, how old you are. I like to show that courage comes at all ages.
It's
You
perfect.
can make a number up if you want.
I'm perfectly okay with who I am and how long I've been on the planet.
Very good.
My name is Lauren Archibeque. I am the owner of the Growth Company. I have been an expert in personal development for decades now. I started my journey almost 30 years ago, getting my first certifications and studying, and really for me, it was a quest of figuring out how to become more, how to continue moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I have spent the last 30 years getting here. At this point, Suki, I have over 24 certifications.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And they run the gamut all the way from I'm an expert in 2 personality profiling systems, all the way to I'm a double certified master neurolinguistic programming practitioner. So, and in between, I'm also a certified hypnotherapist. I've got over a dozen coaching certifications in different avenues. And at this point in my career, I have developed, it's a 1-day transformational program. So that is what I do. It's my passion, it's my juice, moving people forward and getting them to actually realize their brilliance, and not only realize it, but truly move into it and start living the life that they are meant to live. That to me is everything. I do live here in Arizona. I've been here almost 20 years now. I come by way of Long Island, Pennsylvania, Colorado, and now I've landed here.
Okay.
It's 20 years. I will be 58 years old coming up in just over a month. And here's how I look at that. What I say to myself is that I'm just not new anymore.
I love
Right? But Suki, here's the good news. The good news is I'm as young today as I'm ever going to be again. So I intend to make the most of it. So that's my way of looking at it, is I'm just not new anymore.
That's fantastic. Every once in a while, when you're not new, your joints need to be oiled and all of that stuff. I love the way you put that.
Yeah. Well, I encourage people to use it. There's a piece to that is more than just offhanded funny. There's a piece to that that's actually speaking to your subconscious mind. Yeah. There's more to it than just it's cute. But if I can just get people to keep that in their mind, it's helpful in its own much deeper way than just the surface. It's kind of interesting. But anyway, so I can encourage everybody to use it. We're just not new anymore.
Well, and I love it, because the first thought that I had when you said that was, oh, thank goodness,
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Right?
Yeah, I've been, I'm not afraid to scratch me anymore. And I'm not afraid, it's like I'm well worn, I'm comfortable.
Right. Well, I know for me, it's as the years have gone by, I have only gotten more comfortable in my skin, more comfortable with who I am, how I show up, much more graceful with me, which also transfers to other people.
Yes.
We have a sense of grace that I probably did not have at 25.
Yeah. I know I didn't for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. It's a
Yeah.
good thing. And
Excellent.
we just keep moving along and keep growing.
Very good. Love it. So, this is Courage Rises, and I want to know what courage means to you.
Here's what came up for me as I thought about the subject matter, Suki. Courage to me is different than fear.
Okay.
Courage is more when I picture it, courage is more looking at something that maybe you haven't done before. Courage is more stepping out of what we consider to be our little box.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important that we do that. It's important that we stretch outside what we thought of as maybe the norm or what we were used to. Courage also, to me, looks like taking that next right step, even when it takes more than what you thought you had available, whatever that might be. That could be, maybe it's time, maybe it's a knowledge base, maybe it's learning new things, new technology. It takes courage to step into that when you're not 100% sure. You know, that's to me is courage as opposed to fear. And fear is its own subject.
Yes, most definitely. It's interesting. I like both of the things that you said there about being in the box and also about taking the next right step when you're not 100% sure. I like to talk about courage as a continuum. And it's not just jumping out of the airplane that's courageous. I think I love that taking the next right step. Coming out of your box. I remember very recently I was talking to my coach and I was saying, I feel like I can see what I need to do, but there's like a lucite box, there's like a clear panel in front of me, and I don't know how to get rid of it, you know?
Fabulous.
I
That's
can,
fabulous.
yeah.
Would you like a little, I have no doubt that you have all of the support and knowledge base to make great strides, Suki. This is,
Thank you.
but I'm just wondering if you wouldn't like to play with something for just a moment.
I'm game.
Okay. Okay, good. If you want, if you want to get through and on the other side of that lucite box, as you put it, what I would encourage you to do is it only takes minutes. And what I would encourage you to do is sit with yourself for just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And what you will do is you will close your eyes. As you close your eyes, what you're going to bring up for yourself is some moment in time where you felt completely confident, when you felt that surge of brilliance is what I would call it. That knowing that you've got this or that you just attained it. You know, maybe it was standing on stage and everybody is clapping. Maybe it was a huge accomplishment. You ran the marathon, whatever that was. And I want you to, in that moment with your eyes closed, I want you to take it all in, that moment. I want you to feel exactly what you felt in that moment. I want you to hear what you heard. I want you to see what you saw. I want you to smell what you smelled in that moment. Taste the victory in your mouth. All of your senses. And now check with your body. Where is that feeling? And what's it doing? Is it moving? Is it oscillating? Is it spinning? And as you take that picture, Suki, I want you to begin to amplify it piece by piece.
I'm afraid if I do that, I will burst.
Excellent. I can guarantee you I have never burst anybody.
Oh, good.
I can guarantee it. So take that moment, Suki, and now begin to amplify it. Make the colors even more vibrant, even more vivid to yourself. Brighten the whole thing up. Add sounds that maybe it didn't even have at the time. Maybe it's a song. Maybe it's Eye of the Tiger. I mean, just add those dimensions. Add even more people celebrating with you if that amplifies it for you. And that feeling you have in your body, make it even bigger. If it's spinning, spin it faster. And now what you do when you have that all in, you click it into place. Just like a Tupperware, like click it into place. Enjoy that moment for just another moment. Then take a deep breath, letting it embed in every cell of your body, and then open your eyes. And now that you have this installed, now it's as simple as when you're looking at that next thing that's just on the other side of that very clear, very transparent, very thin veil. When you're looking at that, go back to that moment just now, just a moment ago, because that's all it is. And it's all there. And then see how quickly and easily you move into whatever that is.
Just pushing down that wall and walking over it.
I would believe, Suki, with you, it's gone.
When I summon all of my inner strength, my courage, if you will, I feel like I can go through anything. I love the idea of putting it in something that you click the lid on that you can open up when you need it or when you want it or when you feel stuck. I mean, I can hear the sounds. I can feel the buzz in my body.
Perfect.
And I can hear the music. For me, it's music. And you know what it is? It's crazy. It's that music where they're advertising Dolby and it comes in and it's a bunch of noise and then it comes in and it's this chord.
Perfect. Perfect. Whatever it is, it's perfect. For you, it could be as simple as pull that music up and that will open. Like,
oh, I love that. I'm going to write that down. Open that container with music. And I can definitely grab a clip of that music, probably anywhere.
Anywhere, or just bring it up in your head, because of course your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So you can bring it up in your head just like you just did. I saw the whole energy change. So bring it up in your head and then go for it.
Oh, love that. Oh boy, you've got me buzzy now.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So so now I'm going to go forward with even more energy. And I want to know, is it important to you to be seen as a courageous person?
That's an interesting question. I think my answer is that I would like to be seen. That would be my preference, is that people see me as courageous. And it's more important to me that I know that.
Sure.
That's what's the most important piece to me, is that I have it inside that I am courageous. And that leads me to the thought that says, there's a little bit of a question in my own head with myself, Suki. This is totally,
Yeah.
this is just in this moment, I'm thinking about it and going, what would I do if I were brave? And then the other thought is that courage can imply that there's fear. And I just wonder,
Most definitely. Mm-hmm.
right? And when it comes to fear, I have lots of strategies, I call them,
Mm-hmm.
to um, move towards peace.
Mm.
Because we know, and I know you know this, we're only actually born with two fears. That's all we actually, yeah, that's all we come in with. There's two. And they're fear of falling
Mm.
and loud noises.
So interesting.
That's it. That's all we came in with. When you're born, you're this big. That's what you've got. Every other fear we've created for ourselves.
Wow, that's a powerful statement.
Yeah, it is. And as you ponder it, what you realize is that if all of the fears that we have beyond those two are made up, then can't we unmake them?
Yes, I believe we can.
Of course we can.
If you're not afraid to take a closer look, move beyond your comfort zone, really do the digging. It's not for sissies, right?
No, it's not. And that takes courage. It
Yes.
takes courage to acknowledge, first of all, that there are still pieces to uncover. I always tell people, I call it peeling the onion,
Yes.
right? Looking at my programming, looking at my habits, looking at my thought process. And I've been peeling the onion now for 30 years. And what I know is I'm going to be peeling that onion until the day I'm no longer here.
Yeah.
And so each layer is another opportunity to look at something that I hadn't seen before. Or maybe I'd seen it and stuffed it, 40 years ago.
As we
But
do.
yeah. And there is some courage involved. And sometimes the courage is actually finding the other humans that can help support you.
Mm-hmm.
What I tell people who choose to work with me is that working even in my 1-day event is about the easiest thing you're ever going to do. We do not spend time digging up the scabs and making you bleed. For the
Right.
most part, it's a very light, easy day where we are getting to those deeper layers, the deeper programs. But again, like you and I discussed just a few minutes ago, I think before we started taping, it doesn't have to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
And when we keep that in mind as well, you can, here's what it is, Suki. You can make the progress and take the steps with just this much courage.
Agree.
Right? It's just this much courage. It's not a big overwhelming energy drain, using lots of bandwidth. Well, people think, well, I need courage. I'm gonna fight. And maybe all we need is this much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you could see that. Maybe all we need is this. I can't go get the camera right, but maybe it's just a tiny bit just to get momentum, get that movement going.
And don't you find sometimes that we build that tiny little bit of courage, we build it up in our mind until it is like the Berlin Wall. And it's like, how's that going to come down? And
Yeah,
yet,
we do.
once you take that step, it leads to the following step and the following step. And like I like to say, it's the courage continuum. And the transformational power of it is that once you exercise a little bit of courage, you feel more empowered to exercise a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're stacking that, you're stacking the evidence is what it's called. We stack the evidence now to show us that we can do those things that maybe we haven't done before.
Mm-hmm.
And we are mitigating the other piece that says, oh, this is going to be so. We don't, that piece is not required for forward movement, really.
Mm-hmm.
So we like to stack the evidence in our favor. That little voice that makes everything into the Berlin Wall, as you call it, that's all a matter of the old stories, the old programming, the old belief systems, which are all in the subconscious. And that's where you get people that are, I call it, they feel like they're stuck, because people are never really stuck, but they feel stuck. And I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a process of those old beliefs, programs, and stories in the subconscious that just keep rerunning. This is where you get people that have lived the same year over and over again, and they're calling it a life.
Right, right.
Right? But it's all going on in the subconscious, which it's not to be minimized.
Yeah.
I mean, your subconscious is powerful. Powerful stuff. And that's the stuff that is stopping people from being as brilliant as they're meant to be. Those are the things that keep people, they know they've got a 500-watt bulb inside, like you.
Mm-hmm.
We know that it's there. Other people can see it, you can see it, you can know it's there, but then you have people that are shining at 40 watts. It's a process of what's going on in the subconscious mind that's doing that. And the beautiful thing is that it's flexible. It's I don't want to say fixable, because that would imply that it's broken. It's not broken.
But you can make a change. Yeah.
You can make a change. You can flip those switches to now allowing you that peace, that courage, as you call it, to step into who you're meant to be and to follow the path that you are uniquely designed to follow, and step into why we're here. Each of us comes with a purpose. I am absolutely convinced of it. We each come in with a purpose. Unfortunately, most are not going to step into that purpose because of the programming, the beliefs, and the stories that they have going on in the subconscious mind.
Yeah. And the stories were just, even the cultural stories that we're told, the family stories, the culture. It's like you go to school, you grow up, maybe you go to college and you get a job, and then you're in that job till you retire. It's like, that's a story. It's a very simplistic story, but it's only one of the stories.
It's only one possibility. You know, here's my favorite belief system story that's out there. I'm not sure, I don't know that we've talked about. I wrote a book. It's called Be Nice and Get What You Really Want.
Oh, you mentioned it to me, right?
Okay, well, in the process of writing that book, I had sent the first manuscript off to be edited. And my back cover of the book, it says, you know, nice guys do not finish last. They finish first with a band of cheerleaders behind them. My copy editor sent me back a bunch of notes, and he said, that whole nice guys finish last. I mean, how often have we heard it?
Yeah.
Men use it all the time. Women,
Yes.
you know, the nice guy, you know, well, nice guys finish last. You can't be nice because then you're going to. Do you know that quote never happened? That was a typo.
Oh, you're kidding.
I can stand up in front of any audience and say, well, you know, nice guys, and they will finish the sentence, finish last.
Yes.
It was a typo. It was never said like that. It was actually a radio broadcast, and the broadcaster was watching the team come off the field, And he said, that team right there, those are nice guys. There should have been a period. They finished last. One had nothing to do with the other, but they missed the punctuation. It was a punctuation error.
Mm.
And when they transcribed it, it came out, those are nice guys finished last. Nice guys finished last. Now it's been repeated over the last 100 years.
Yeah.
And we have this belief out there that nice guys finished last when it wasn't even said.
Yeah.
Is that crazy?
It is. But
I know.
that's another
I
one
know.
of those cultural, I don't even know what you call it, forms. It's a cultural structure now.
Yeah, it's a structure, and it wasn't even said that way originally, and yet that is what we have transpired to. And now, I mean, there's books on the subject, and there's all kinds of stuff all around a typo. I mean, that's how, yeah, there are so many.
Yeah.
There's so many. And really, the crux of the matter is that what's really important is, do your beliefs, your programming, and your stories, do they support you in forward movement? That's the only thing that's important.
Mm-hmm.
There are stories that work and there's stories that don't work. And, you know, of course, my stock and trade is,
Your practice built around that. Mm-hmm.
my practice is built around, let's come up with the stories and the programs and the belief systems that work to move you forward to the life you know you deserve and desire.
Mm-hmm.
The freedom, the peace, the money, the health, the relationships. That's all based on what's going on in the subconscious mind.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. I have a friend, Bex Beltran. I don't know if you know Bex. She's a coach. She's a life coach, and she's a podcaster. And one of the things that I love that she says is that all thoughts are optional. So if you're thinking one way and you just think that's the only way to think and be and live, it's not true. You can tell yourself another story. And
I love that.
I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah. In fact, telling yourself another story is something I say all the time. And thoughts are they're not things. They're fluid.
Mm-hmm.
And the brain is faster than you think. And it switches and moves, and you can take control of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that people sometimes can miss.
I think most people miss that. I don't know many people aside from the people that I've been trying to surround myself with for the last 18 months. I never hear anybody really talk about that.
Yeah, no, it's, and you are exactly right. A good portion of people have no idea that they can be in control of their thoughts. They can be in control of their emotions. You can drive the bus, is what I call it. You can take control of the bus.
Yeah.
And you can direct it where you want to be. And when you realize that, it is it's an aha moment. And it is miraculous.
I'm sure.
It is. Absolutely.
It's taken me a while to read and to start to really believe that, and now I'm really excited about the fact that I can change the stories that I've told myself. And of course, one of the things that you do is help people find those stories, right? Find the stories in their brains that they don't even know they're thinking.
Yeah, for me, it's what I'm looking for when I'm working with a client. And like I said, it's one-to-one. Like, what I'm looking for in that day are the programs that are even deeper than the stories, the programs. And the programs are the ones that are gathering up the evidence in the form of stories. And then the stories layer on top of each other until it becomes bigger. like a full-blown belief system. This is just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then they gather more evidence. It's like the woman who says all men cheat. And I go, all men? Well, yeah. And if you listen to this, to her history, her stories,
Mm-hmm.
she has lots of evidence of men cheating on her. And she looked at me and she said, well, you've been cheated on. And I said,
Not that I know of.
not that I'm aware of. And I mean, I'm a lot of things. Stupid's not one of them. you, but but she gathered up the evidence until it became this structure, this belief that says, well, this is just the way men are. And I'm like, wow, that's a tough belief to own if you want to be in a loving relationship with somebody.
It sure is.
Yeah, how do you do that? So anyway, it was one of her programs that just kept getting fed. And
Interesting. Yeah. Well, and you start to expect it, too, and it's you kind of the things that you think, you're attracting things to you by what you think. And if you're thinking that men are all cheaters, you're going to attract cheaters who are going to confirm your bias, right?
Right. Well, here's the thing. I feel like I'm taking you on all these tangents. So
fun.
Here's the thing. The conscious mind is processing 60 bits of information per second. 60. 60. Okay. The subconscious mind in that same second is processing over 11 million bits of information.
Holy cow.
11 million is the bare minimum. Now, if I take a woman that says all men cheat, and I put her in a room, I line up 100 men, 99 of them being upstanding, considerate, successful, amazing, loving men, one of them being a scoundrel. If I stood her in the doorway and said, okay, honey, pick one, who's she going to pick?
The scoundrel.
Is she walking in that room and thinking, let me find the cheater? No. She's walking in the room and going, okay, so Lauren said that these are, she's not, but her subconscious mind is going to be gathering up the evidence to support her belief that all men cheat. With 11 million minimum bits of information per second, it will find him. Who knows? The gluten is that I could even dress them all the same, and I'm pretty much guaranteed she is going to belly up to the scoundrel. Not because it's what she wants.
Right.
But because that's what her subconscious believes. It's what the evidence is built for. And so therefore, that's where she will go, not because she wants it, but because that's what her program will lead her to be. It's the same thing around money. It's the same thing with any relationship. It's the same thing around your health.
So we've talked a lot about courage in a variety of ways. Do you have a story of courage in your life that you want to tell? And I have to warn you, we probably only have about 10 minutes.
Okay. All right. Then let me give you my favorite.
Okay.
So many, many years ago, 50 now, because I was 6 or 7 years old at the time. To put it mildly, my family was a bit of an adventure.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, I'm sure they can. It's not unusual. It's not an unusual story. It's just to set background. My father was a highly intelligent, very charismatic, handsome, amazing man who was also a very, very highly functional alcoholic. My mom, brilliant, invited into Mensa, highly talented in the arts, music, comedy. She could speak to an audience. She'd have them laughing and crying within a minute of each other. You know, just, she was amazing. And they had this complicated relationship, let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 6 or 7 years old, my father would come home late sometimes, and he would fly into raging.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my older brothers, we would be asleep. We would get woken up. And what would happen on occasion is my mother would come up, wake us up and say, you know, okay, come on, guys, we're going to go to grandma's. And we'd jump in the car and we'd go to grandma's. Now, grandma's house was about 20 miles away. But we would jump in the car, go to grandma's, stay a few days. Dad would show up, apologize. We'd go back home. We'd live our little suburban life. And then it would happen again.
Mm-hmm.
One particular night, my mom woke us up and said, hey, we're going to grandma's, which we already knew. At this point, we were pretty practiced. We slept in our clothes. Our bags were under the bed. If Dad wasn't home from work, we knew it was coming. So we went out to go get in the car. My mom went to start the car and nothing happened.
Oh.
She opened the hood of the car, not that she was a mechanic, but she opened the hood of the car and realized my father had disconnected all the wires. So there was no getting in the car. My mother at the time looked around. She was tenacious, to say the least. She looked around and she said, oh, this will be fun. Let's get down the bikes. Now, to paint a little more of the picture, this was Long Island, sometime late November.
Oh my gosh. Cold.
Yeah. I still had my first bike on my little 12-inch wheels.
Oh my goodness.
My brothers had bigger bikes, you know, 3-speed, 5-speed. My mom had a 10-speed. We set out for grandma's.
In the dark.
In the dark. It's the middle of the night, probably 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. We set out in the dark on our bikes and we're riding along. And at first it was fun, you know. I don't know how far I made it until my little legs started to get really tired and I started to whine. My mom came up with the idea of my brothers pulling me. So one would get on either side and pull me and I'd pull my feet up. Well, that was fun for a little while, but my brothers could only do that for so long.
Mm-hmm.
We went another little while and it started to rain. So now I'm tired. My little legs they're done.
Yeah, they're beat.
Now I'm wet and I'm cold. Now I begin to whine Suki like no tomorrow. I am whining, I'm crying, I'm screaming at my mother. I am beside myself.
Yeah.
And for the rest of my life, I will remember we got to an overpass. And my mom, who was in front of me, she stopped her bike. So I stopped right behind her. And all I could think of in my little brain was, oh, I am in for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, mom was going to give me a piece of her mind.
Mm-hmm.
She got off her bike and she came back to me. And she held my little face in her hands and she wiped my tears. And she looked directly in my eyes. And here's what she said, Suki. She said, oh, honey, this is not a crisis. It's an adventure.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
What a good story.
I know. And I can tell you, even in the rest of the trip was spent laughing with my brothers. How far could we splash the water? How far up my mother's back was the mud going to go?
Mm-hmm.
We got to our destination and life carried on. But when I think of courageous, now I think about my mom, 30 years old,
What was she?
violent husband.
Yeah.
And she had the courage to be aware of me. I was not making her life any easier in that moment, that's for sure.
Right.
To me, that is the epitome of courage.
It could have gone one of so many other ways. Yeah. That's a beautiful story.
And it reinforced for me the power of the story you tell yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The power of the story. Is it a crisis or is it an adventure?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it something that's going to be fun, or is it going to be really hard?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it something you're really going to, like, you're going to give it your all and see what happens?
Yeah.
Or is it a, oh, what am I going to do now?
Right.
It's the power of the story, Suki. So that's that. I just thought
That's a
that's my favorite.
wonderful story. That's a wonderful story. And I'm sure um, that instilling that story in you, crisis versus adventure, it probably served you very well as you continued on in your life.
Oh,
When
yeah,
you get to the point where you're at your wit's end and you have no idea what to do, this isn't a crisis, it's an adventure.
it's an adventure. And how many times the crisis is implying that it's something to worry about. It's a disaster. And how many times those are so, why even give them any weight? But
Mhm.
when you form it in, this is not a crisis, it's an adventure. You know, this is not a disaster, it's an event.
Mhm.
This is, you know, my kids are used to me saying, well, that's less than ideal.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whether it's spilled milk or, you know, they're out of money. Like, oh,
Yeah.
that's less than ideal. What are you going to do now?
Right. Yeah.
It's just less than ideal.
It's putting it in perspective.
Yes.
And
It's all perspective and story.
your little 6-year-old self didn't have any.
Mm-mm.
And your mom had the courage of imagination as well as, getting your kids to safety. She had the imagination to um, give you a form or a structure that you could work within.
Right. That I could move into, that I could get enrolled in this adventure.
And it's
You
safer
know,
than the structure you were in.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you know, I mean, just for, like, yeah,
Hmm.
it was just, to me, that was courage.
Hmm.
Courage under fire, courage under pressure, courage
Grace
with
under.
love.
Yeah.
Yeah, courage with grace,
Yes, with grace. And
with grace.
that's hard to do when you're caught up in yourself sometimes. It's hard to have courage with grace. You can have courage, you can have courage while you're fearing something, but
Right,
courage with grace is a real gift.
right. It's courage with grace versus courage gutting it out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right,
Yep. And making it.
right. And yeah, I don't want to gut things out.
Mm-hmm. No,
And it's also a benefit, like we talked earlier, it's a benefit of being not new anymore.
not new. I love that.
Not new.
Yep. Yep. Well, I have absolutely loved our conversation. I can't believe that our time is up, and I would keep it going, except I have, I have an appointment right after this. And thank you, Lauren, for spending an hour with me. I loved it. Your company is delightful all the time. So thanks for being part of this.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the invitation. This has been fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, Suki. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks. The same to you.
Thank you.
This has been Courage Rises with Susan Jeffries. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you recognized yourself in some of the courageous actions and thoughts of my guest. If you want to get notified of new episodes, please go to YouTube to the Courage Rises channel, like this episode, and subscribe to my channel. Never forget that courage can be learned through practice and shifting your mindset. If you have a story of courage to tell, or you're immersed in this subject matter, or if you'd like to learn more about moving the needle on your own courage continuum, you can email me at susan@couragerises.life. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.